We're going to go ahead and get things started. Welcome back, everyone, to our weekly discussion live streams. We are here with Amphibia Season 3. Oh my god, I'm so excited to talk about this season. I'm so excited to talk about this first episode. Let's see if there's anyone in my chat yet. Oh, hey, Crafty Twitch. Welcome, welcome. Glad that you could make it. I'm here once again, with my dear friend and beloved fellow YouTuber, Tom from Curmudgeon Media. Tom, you want to introduce yourself?
Do I want to introduce myself, or do I just want to say honk if Thatcher's dead and then move on?
Oh my god. Yeah, if if you are familiar with Tom, you'll know that he'll just do that. So yeah.
He does that sometimes.
He does that sometimes.
I do still think everything we say in that video 100% applies to this episode as well.
Absolutely. The comedy in this season premiere was fantastic. It was so funny. I laughed out loud multiple times. I also wanted to cry multiple times because this episode also is actually pretty emotional. Before we dive into the episode properly, Tom, also, hey Shia, welcome. So glad that you're here.
Yeah.
Before we get into the episode proper, you mentioned the Owl House, and we've done discussion streams for the Owl House before, and now we're doing discussion streams for Amphibia, and I wanted to just get your general thoughts on. I don't want to compare these two shows because even though they're pretty similar, they're also very different. But I do kind of just want to get your thoughts on what the experience has been like for you, kind of watching the Owl House and Amphibia like at the same time. Like just as these two shows, like what are your thoughts?
I was saying to my dad the other day, because my dad made a comment. We were talking about like the state of British television.
Yeah.
And my dad made a comment where it's like, British TV is dead compared to what it used to be. Or he said TV is dead compared to what it used to be, but really what he meant was British TV is dead. And I can understand why he'd say that, because you know, channels like ITV and the Beeb used to commission amazing short series and just fantastic. I mean, stuff like Prime Suspect, really good television.
Yeah.
And we don't have so much of that anymore. But I was like, hang on. I'd say the animation today, because he was so broad about it. Like, I know he meant British TV, but I do think, I said, look, animation today, in my opinion, is stronger than it's ever been. And there are some great shows coming out right now. And the very first two that came to my head were Amphibia and The Owl House, which it's really easy to compare them, or at least put them next to one another in your brain, because they're both isekai. They both have that same central premise of girl lost in fantasy world.
Right.
But their execution of those of the same premise is totally different.
Yeah.
And the overall experience of watching both shows is totally different, which is why they make great companion pieces to one another, but not necessarily shows that I would want to compare, because the strengths of one. Yeah, I would say Amphibia is funnier than The Owl House by a mile, but The Owl House isn't really trying to be that funny. Like when it does comedy, it does it well, but it's not like you don't get the impression that comedy is its central focus.
Yeah, with Amphibia, definitely it is.
So yeah, I mean, I just regret not watching them sooner, but at the same time I don't, because it meant like by the time I had finished season 1 of The Owl House, season 2 was like a week away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you caught up just in time.
And by the time I'd finished season 2 of The Owl House, Amphibia was a month away.
Yep, it was perfect timing.
So yeah, Amphibia's great.
I totally agree with what you're saying, that they're both really amazing shows. I like kind of keep going back and forth in my head between like which one is my favorite of the two, which I think is kind of unfair. And what I kind of eventually settled on is that I really do love both of them for like slightly different reasons, but I feel like I kind of love both of them almost equally.
I would say exactly the same. I think there are individual aspects of the two that I like more. So I like the extended cast of The Owl House more.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say Anne Boonshaw is my favorite protagonist.
Anna's so good. Yeah, see, actually, it's kind of the opposite for me. I really like the extended cast in Amphibia, but I think like Luz is my favorite protagonist. But I love Anne. I absolutely adore Anne. She's fantastic, and I'm so ready to talk about her today.
I would love to. I never watched the Amphibia Owl House thing they did, crossover
Oh, that
thing they
little
did.
crossover. It's so cute.
So I currently have absolutely no idea how Anne and Luce get along. I imagine they'd get along very well,
They're
even though
adorable.
they are both very different because Luce is super like resourceful and quick-witted
Yeah.
and honestly really intelligent and crafty, quick on her feet. Anne is athletic. There we go.
Yeah.
But also a dumb idiot baby.
I know you always call Anne a dumb idiot baby, and it
She
makes me
is a dumb
laugh.
idiot baby.
It makes me
And
laugh.
that's why I love her, because she's a dumb idiot baby.
Yeah,
She's
I
she's
adore her.
wonderful.
But she's a responsible dumb idiot baby now in
She
this
is a
episode.
responsible dumb idiot baby. That's true. She's a dumb idiot baby, but she's also a dumb idiot adult.
Rooster Tamer, you say that you want to get your friends to watch Amphibia, but they won't because it's not canonly gay yet. I think like that's fair for people to want to watch like gay stuff in cartoons and stuff like that. I totally respect that. But Amphibia, like I actually really like that there's no romance in it. Like if it already feels like the plate is full with Amphibia.
Yeah.
And so like to try to add romance kind of on top of that, I feel like it would be too much. With the Owl House, it kind of fits really nicely with the characters. With Amphibia, I really like the friendship dynamic between the three girls, and I mean, people can ship them if they want. I'm not like anti-shipping or anything like that. But
You are anti-shipping. Every time I mention shipping, you clench your fists in rage and say, God, I'm so anti-shipping. Those are the exact words you said.
yeah, but I do love Amphibia kind of exactly the way it is. And if we do get some LGBT representation in season 3 with some of the like the side characters and stuff, I think that'd just be amazing. Like that'd just kind of be the icing on the cake for me.
I don't want it to sound like me saying that I prefer the extended cast of the Owl House to Amphibia. I don't want that to sound like I don't like the extended cast of Amphibia,
Yeah, of
because let's
course.
the planters are all wonderful delights.
Yes, yes. Anyway,
But
we
also like no one compares to Ida. No one.
that's fair, that's fair.
That's not possible.
All right, we are like 13 minutes into the stream yet and we haven't started talking about the episode, so why don't we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so as we all know, the season 2 finale was freaking insane. Like it was absolutely unreal. Some absolutely wild stuff happened. We saw, Anne and the planters get transported to Earth. Marcy was stabbed by King Andreas, which was absolutely like jaw-dropping, like unreal, shocking. Sasha is still at Amphibia trying to, recruit people, I guess. We're still going to have to see and figure it out. But from what we've kind of seen in previews and stuff, it seems like Sasha is going to be kind of leading the rebellion to save Amphibia from Andreas, hopefully save Marcy as well. And and the planters have been transported back to Earth. So that's exactly where we pick up at the start of season 3, which I absolutely love. I love when shows do that, when they cut at the season finale and then pick right up like exactly where we left off. We get some amazing shots, right? We get the cars, the planes, the
Buttons.
the wacky inflatable car
Tube
sale
man.
two-man thing. Yeah. Um yeah, and then the planters are all like freaking out about what's going on around them, and they figure out they're on the freeway. Sprig is like, "This is your world. It's so loud," and Anne's like, "That's because we're on the freaking freeway." And of course
And
they run.
this could just as easily transform into the opening scene of La La Land without us even knowing.
Oh my god, that's funny. You're so
For
right.
all we know, that's exactly what's happening as soon as they leave the freeway. La La Land and Amphibia take place in the same universe.
I mean,
Confirmed.
this is LA, actually. I think this is supposed to be LA.
Yeah, it said East Los Angeles on the sign. So
Yeah, there
it's
we
yeah,
go.
it makes perfect sense. It's confirmed. It's
Confirmed.
canon.
Confirmed. Ryan Gosling is gonna show up in the.
I would love that because Ryan Gosling is hilarious and he would be amazing in this.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing. Um, Yeah, totally, Rooster. It's not just the freeway in the human world that's loud; it's the entire world that's loud. But anyway, they cut to
Well,
um,
unless you live in Plymouth like I do, where everything's quiet and cold.
you know, they cut to the city. It's an amazing, cityscape, the landscape. We see the Good Day blimp in the air, the helicopter, right? All the advanced technology, and we get this amazing establishing shot, right? And then, of course, everyone's freaking out. Spring falls over, which is super adorable. I love Spring. I absolutely adore Spring so much.
Sprig is very hard to dislike.
And
My
then we
favorite thing about Sprig is the way that every time Sprig like shouts or gasps, his mouth opens at a full like 180 degrees.
Yes. Oh my god, that's so true. He's so squishy and like adorable. I love him.
Malleable.
Yes, yes. Um we get this amazing gag, right? Where Anne's like, "Am I dreaming?" There's only one way to confirm that this is real, right? She pulls out her phone, she checks her signal, she gets the 5G signal, and this amazing, emotional moment happens for Anne where she realizes she actually has internet connection, which I can totally relate to. Yeah, this was one of the greatest. This is a really great gag. I'm home. The transition of the birds too is really, really good. Like really establishing like we are on Earth. The birds are normal. They are not killer.
I love Anne's little face there. She like tilts her head back and screams into the wind.
Oh yeah, I'm
Oh,
home. Yeah, and it's just so great. Obviously, I love that like, her just being like kind of addicted to her phone is such a prominent kind of gag throughout the entire show. Like in the first episode, she's like taking selfies. There's that moment in the episode Wally and Anne where like she almost loses her. She almost falls and almost dies, but then she also almost loses her phone. And she's like,
Wally catches it, yeah.
"Wally, you saved my phone." Oh, and my life, I guess.
But I also like that it's not patronizing because like it doesn't ever go into that boomer humor
No,
territory of like, oh, kids and their phones.
no, it's
What
like
is that?
always like the frogs and amphibia like respect Anne's like need for her phone, which I love.
What's that eat hot chip and lie meme? The
Yeah.
copy pasta, yeah. All women born after 1990 whatever, 1993, they don't know how to cook. All they know is charge they phones, twerk, eat hot chip and lie. It doesn't go in that direction.
No, no, totally. Um So, we cut to Anne and the planters walk in through the city. The planters are absolutely like freaking out at what's going on around them. I absolutely adore Polly. She just got her legs immediately right in the last episode. It's been months for us, but it's been mere moments for her. So she's still very excited about the fact that she has legs. And I just want to say that Polly is like peak character design. Like I love Polly's design. She's just a circle with a bow
With legs and
and
arms.
legs and arms. Like she's just so great. I love her design. I love how funny it is that she's just like running around on her little stick legs. Yeah, it's so great. I'm absolutely thrilled for the fact that Polly has legs now and she's just like bouncing around on them.
She certainly puts her legs to work in this episode out of necessity.
She does, and it's great. It's fantastic. Sprig committing a felony and going through someone's mail. This was just such a great Sprig episode. Him like freaking out over the buttons and like
Buttons.
going into the sewer and all that good stuff. Like, yeah, I just love, I think the creators of the show did talk about how Sprig has ADHD canonically. If not, then he's incredibly ADHD coded. But he is very easily distractible and very easily excitable, which is one of my favorite things about Sprig.
Well, I love how I mean we haven't got to it yet, but I love how Hot Pop is constantly trying to like suck up to the parents in this episode,
Yes.
and him like standing so short next to them completely undercuts any sense of authority.
It's hilarious. It's fantastic.
Tiny Frog Man.
He's the best. I love Hop Hop. Um,
Do you think he ever made it to the Cheese Museum?
I think he did. I think we got confirmation of that. If not, he deserves to. He deserves to
He
go to the
deserves
cheese.
to. Maybe they have a cheese museum in LA that he can
I am
visit.
sure they do. I would not be surprised if there was a cheese museum in LA.
I'm Googling it.
There's a lot of weird stuff in LA. So anyway, and of course, it's like first order of business. I gotta go see my parents, even though all this crazy stuff is happening. They talk a little bit about how they need to go back to Amphibia and stop Andreas, and figure out how to get the planters home, all that good stuff. But of course, first thing is first. The most important thing. And has been away. I want to pause on that frame of Anne looking at her home, because this is also a really funny frame. I love all the little details. First of all, like the frisbee that's like stuck on the roof, the statues, and the Thai kind of cultural items that are in the front yard, their mailbox, but also like Hop Pop's face here, and like Sprig kind of face
Yeah.
planted in the sidewalk is really funny. And I really appreciate the artwork in the show. They always like add these little details that make the world feel so full and so alive, but also like,
Lived in.
yeah, absolutely. And then of course,
Very
like,
lived in environment.
yeah, and then the expressions are always like top tier. I freaking love this show.
And of course has a basketball hoop, obviously.
Oh, of course, she has to. She's sports girl.
She's very tall. Like even like it was kind of ambiguous how tall she was because she spent the last however long surrounded by tiny frog people. But like even next to her parents, she's pretty tall.
She is, yeah. And yeah, I totally agree with Rooster Tamer saying that Polly is a little round gremlin child. That's a beautiful description of her.
That is exactly her.
Yeah, yeah. Bort says, I love the backgrounds of Amphibia, especially the on Earth, because it's not all neat. Places are dirty and messy and lived in. It's so satisfying. Yeah, totally
Yeah,
100% agree.
it's like Cowboy Bebop. It's all lived in, and some places are kind of grimy and dilapidated and
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
really great. It's really great.
And also, Anne has exactly the same silhouette as Spike Spiegel, and I will not take no for an answer.
Yes, I love your and Spike art. It's so great.
They're the same person. They're a couple of dumb idiot people who are also surprisingly competent in particular ways.
It's so good. Anne tells the planters to hide in the trash cans. She wants to try to ease her parents into the whole thing, which is understandable, of course. She's like, we're going to tell them a little bit of the truth, but we're not going to mention the stuff with Andreas. We're not going to mention the stuff with Sasha and Marcy betraying us. And we're definitely not going to talk about my glowing blue powers, right? Which Sprig is like, glowing blue powers. And Polly's like, it was a thing. Don't worry about it. It's like, oh yeah, Sprig was like plummeting to his death while that entire thing was happening.
Missed the Super Saiyan.
Oh, apparently Bort says that even Matt did art of Anne dressed up as Spike last Halloween. So there you go.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Really? Can you
Yeah.
please can you like send that to me on Twitter? I have to see.
Anne tells the planters, wait for the signal, the caca, which of course leads into the mishap that happens shortly after. But I also I want to give some attention to this line from Polly, because I found it so absolutely hilarious when I first watch it. When Polly is like, don't worry, Frobo, we'll fix you up. Anne's world is full of advanced technology. And then right on cue, right, there's this dilapidated Furby right behind her that just like absolutely breaks down and catches on fire, which like, again, with the comedy on this show, just like the jokes always happen in such like rapid succession. And this was just like one of those moments that just absolutely got a really good chuckle out of me.
And they always move on before you have a chance to kind of think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're done with that gag. We're moving on now.
Yeah, exactly. But this one got a really good laugh out of me. Also because, like, I recognize a Furby. I grew up in the 90s. I know what a Furby is. So, like, it just got a really good laugh out of me. So Anne, she's getting ready to see her parents again. I do just want to point out, again, I love all the details in the show, all the background information that we get, all the little tiny things that the artists add, and I always love like walls of family photos and stuff, especially in shows, because it just shows you so much. We see this like photo of Anne in front of like some museum or some building. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if this is the museum that we might see later in the show, right? Maybe. I don't know. Um and then, Anne's baby picture, the family portrait, the picture of Domino, which is really cute. And I really also love the wedding photo of Anne's parents too, because you can see that they're kind of dressed up in like traditional Thai wedding clothes. And that's one thing I really want to shout out to this episode in particular, is that we got so much of like Anne's Thai background and her parents' like cultural background in this episode, and most of it was done through all these like really small details and these like things kind of added to the background. And I really love that. I really appreciate that. I really feel like a lot of thought went into their background, and I believe Matt Raleigh himself is Thai, and so like that makes a lot of sense of like why so much thought would have gone into that, because I know that that's something that was really important to him. And it's something that I
Yeah.
really appreciate too, like as someone with an Asian background, like a lot of this felt really familiar to me, even though like I'm not Thai. A lot of it is pretty similar, so it felt very familiar to me.
And it makes it feel like more than just window dressing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Fly. This scene really is like heartbreaking. We see Anne's mom open the door and she drops her bowl and gives Anne a hug. I love Anne's dad too. I love his voice actor. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. Um, they give Anne a hug. Domino comes out and, walks around her feet. It's very sweet. This was also a really touching moment to me where, because, we've been seeing Anne's leaves in her hair, like throughout the whole show. And then of course her mom in like typical Asian mom fashion is like, you've got leaves in your hair. I'm going to pick it out. Like, it's just such like one of those character moments that really like resonated with me, that I really enjoyed. And I think like this is also kind of showcasing, right? Like Anne is officially back home now. She doesn't got the leaves in her hair anymore.
I'm gonna miss those leaves.
I'm gonna miss them too. But they made sense for Amphibia, a little less sense in LA. And then of course the bird flies across, right? Which is kind of the gag that was set up earlier. The planters mistake the bird for Anne's signal to come out. And of course, before Anne can prepare her parents for the reality of frog people, they pop out of the trash can, hop up with the banana peel on his head, being like, we're the lovable frog family Anne's told you all about, I'm sure already. And yeah, Polly just being like, that wasn't the signal. And it's like, I thought it was. And before the signal can even be really determined, Sprig is out here being like, by the way, I'm a talking frog and I'm Anne's best friend and I'm gonna eat this fly in front of you. Of course we see Anne's dad fainting at the sight of the frog people.
I mean, it's a reasonable reaction, I think.
Yeah. So Rooster Tamer brings up a good point here, right? So we get this next scene of Anne clearly explaining to her parents kind of what happened over the past few months, and we see, this board of cards, this board of like notes, tied together with with the red string, which is great. And then this easel, right, where she's kind of drawing and explaining what happened. But, I am kind of curious as to what she explained, what she got, what she told the truth on, what she left out, what she maybe lied about, right? We're not entirely sure how much of the story Anne told to her parents. We do know, based off of this panel right here, that she at very least did tell them that Sasha and Marcy were in Amphibia with her, that they did have to go to the temples to recharge the stones. And then pretty much everything after the third temple, pretty much what happened in True Colors, she's left out of the story, right? Like she didn't talk about anything with Marcy's betrayal, Sasha's betrayal, Andrews' betrayal, and Marcy getting hurt. But yeah, I kind of agree with what Rooster Tamer is saying here. Like, it would have been nice to get some reaction from Anne's parents about Sasha and Marcy, but yeah, it's unclear.
We don't know how well the parents know either of them.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd at least want to contact their parents.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, you know?
And be like, okay, so we know where they are. You don't have to panic.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe
they
we'll
did and we just didn't see it.
Yeah, maybe we'll get that in a later episode. I'll be really interested to see. You know, there was already a lot in this episode, and it was already a 22-minute episode, so maybe they just didn't have the time for it in this episode. But yeah, I really do hope that we get some interaction with the parents later on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So Anne's explaining to them, and she's like, you know, and nothing else happened, right? And the planters are like, yep, totally. Nothing else happened. Yep, totally. Yeah. And then, you know, Anne is asking basically if the planters could stay with them. I really do like how, you know, it's hard for the parents to believe. Obviously, like the idea of a talking frog world is absolutely buck wild. And I really laughed again at Anne's dad's line here where he was like, I wouldn't believe it if it weren't for the frog kicking me right now. And yeah, again, Polly with just the excitement over her legs is a really fun continued gag. Oh yeah, and then like Anne's dad being like, I wish I could have been eased into this, and then, you know, Anne giving Hot Pop that look. That was also pretty funny.
Yeah. Hot Pop's face. There are some great faces in this episode.
There's some really excellent expressions.
Oh, look at that face there.
Yeah, Hot Pop's little like guilty, I guess. Hold on, wait, I need to find that face. Yeah, Hot Pop's like little just guilty face is fantastic. I just love seeing all the expressions in this show. And then of course, yeah, Polly kicking Anne's dad is really great.
Have you noticed that Sprig's design hasn't changed at all since the first episode?
Neither has Hot Pop's, I don't think.
Hot Pop's and Sprig's designs haven't changed, which means they're peak character design, and there's nothing to improve.
Yeah, Polly was peak design, and then they added her legs, and she became like even better peak design.
Can you imagine sending this image to someone with no context? Someone who never even heard of Amphibia, they don't know what it is. They're just looking at this thing.
Like, what is this? What is this ball with feet? I love Polly.
This little kidney stone with arms and legs.
You did not just call Polly a kidney stone.
She's a kidney stone, a very large pink kidney stone that would be
screaming.
so painful to pass that kidney stone.
You're terrible. I hate you so much. Oh my gosh.
There aren't that many kidney stones that would kick.
You're terrible. I despise you. I can't believe you called Polly a kidney stone.
Are you gonna tell me I'm wrong?
Anyway, moving on. You know, Anne asks her parents if the planters could stay with them. You know, and I do understand Anne's mom being a little bit apprehensive here, being like, you know, we just want our daughter back. We want her life to go back to normal. Your friends can be dealt with by the authorities. And of course, Anne knows better to trust the authorities, as we should by now at this point. You know, she makes a comment about how the government's gonna experiment on them and probe them. And Hop Pop has a funny line that's like, I'd like you to expand on that probing part a little bit, please. But of course, she's just kind of making this assumption that this is what's going to happen to them, right? Like, kind of our understanding of, sci-fi and aliens and all that stuff. We kind of have seen in movies right before that, people do not take kindly to outsiders, and we will want to experiment and learn about them and all that other crazy stuff. So I understand where Anne's paranoia is coming from here, and I am interested to know if it's like valid or not. Like, if we are going to get kind of some confirmation that the government's going to be like after the planters or something like
I
that
think
later on.
feel like we see some stuff. We do see some rather nefarious looking human characters that look governmental
Yeah,
for
like in the new
whatever that's worth.
intro and some of the
In the new
previews and
intro,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see where
Um,
that goes.
I wonder if it'll go in like a Lilo and Stitch kind of direction, which I'd be open to because Lilo and Stitch is amazing.
Oh, that would be so fun. I love Lilo and Stitch.
I choose to believe that when she's talking about probing, she's talking about the thing.
Oh, yeah, 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 probably.
That's what I choose to believe because we know she's a cinephile after her very astute comments about film noir.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And she does think movies are better than plays.
They are. That's not even a lie. Especially those old detective movies where everybody talks a little too quietly and everybody loses in the end.
Oh my god, so good. This was another great gag, right? Where they're like, okay, lockdown time, nobody's leaving. Anne's dad is all business. He locks the doors, he closes the little latch on the door, and then zoom out, and there's Hot Pop doing the exact same thing, mirroring what Dad is saying and saying, no lockdown, no goofing around, kids. This is serious. And Anne's dad just being like, huh, I'm not used to having backup like this.
I hate to say it, but I'm just sat here biding my time for when we get to see Hot Pop's delicious muffin top.
Oh my god, stop. um I love that.
Got it,
Anne
flaunt it.
Anne's got two dads now, which I love.
Are you saying that they're gonna get together? Is that the one true pairing?
I mean, I've seen people say it on Twitter, so I'm not going to discount it. This was super adorable. I do also want to point out that apparently the script for this episode was written well before COVID, and they didn't have to work on the show during the pandemic, so they actually, like animated and boarded and worked on the show all while working remotely and everything like that. But I believe the
Yeah.
script itself was done before the pandemic, and so it's kind of a wild coincidence how the certain lines that they used in this episode, like, oh, we're going to be on lockdown, oh, it's time to be in quarantine, because as we were starting the pandemic, those were the words that we were using, and so like that's
I
kind of
mean,
crazy.
it's a wild coincidence, but it's not like I feel like The Simpsons has already accidentally predicted so many things that have ended up happening, including COVID and including Trump becoming president, weird shit like that. So nothing's off the table at this point in terms of what can be accidentally, you know,
Accidentally predicting the future.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I wanna read Rooster's comment here. On one hand, letting the government prepare for the coming interdimensional war would be a good idea, but also I'm not trusting the US with my funny frog family. Yeah, I totally 100% agree with that. Anne has some really cute moments here, right? Where she's mostly just excited to be home. She's like, my closet, my clothes, hell yeah. And she has these really cute moments where she's like wearing, her shirt, wearing her jacket, wearing her scarf, wearing another jacket. And she has this hat that has like a fish on it that says "Fish Fear Me," which is, I think, a reference to that hat that's like, women want me, fish fear me. Which I just think is fun.
I just love the red jacket. I'm definitely gonna draw her with that red jacket. It's real cool.
It's cool. It's cool. Anne's got some cool clothes, and she's just a little squishy girl here. I love her. I love her design. I just love her. I just love Anne. She's fantastic.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 character. Wonderful, dumb, idiot baby.
I also just caught the reference. There's so many little references in this show that are so easy to miss unless you watch the episode multiple times. But I just got this reference that the book that Sprig is reading is called Monday Cat with like this purple cat on the cover. That's hilarious. That's really funny. And again, just like the details in the backgrounds, right? Like, of course, Anne's family has a rice cooker on the counter. Like, of course they do. That's just how it is in Asian households. Like, you've got to have the rice cookers. So.
Naturally.
Of course.
And just so many things to be microwaved.
So many. Sprig is on top of it when it comes to microwaving stuff. Yeah, and again, like all the little details, right? Like, oh, this cupboard isn't like perfectly shut all the way, right? Like it's just the little details. The dirty clean sticker on the dishwasher. Just the backgrounds on the show just continue to astound me.
It kind of makes me want.
Yeah, Bort, could I be wearing any more clothes? Definitely not. So Sprig is very excited about this device that he has discovered. And he throws the book into the microwave. Sprig's face here while he's like looking into the microwave too is so funny to me. Like he's just so enraptured by this microwave. Like he doesn't even know what it does yet, right? He's just kind of like, oh, it spins and there's a light that glows. Like I don't think he really even understands that like it's making it hot.
The line in the song though that plays, what is it? Something like microwave a book because why the hell not, or something like that.
I'm gonna microwave a book. Yeah, the song that plays in the background of this too is so funny. The entire soundtrack of this episode was 10 out of 10 amazing, but yeah, the song was top notch. It got a good laugh out of me.
It's so funny.
It's hilarious. This was a funny moment too, right? Where they're in the bathroom. Anne's dad just trying to have a peaceful time in the bathroom, right? Like he's got like a magazine or something and everything. He's like ready to settle in with his newspaper, but then there's freaking frogs in his bathtub and his toilet. Oh, so good. It's just so funny.
You think Hop Pop would know better?
You would think, but no, he's also just a silly little frog man. Sprig continuing to microwave stuff. Now he's got a potato in the microwave, which is an upgrade. It's actually food this time, which is good.
Oh my god, that little photo of Anne.
Oh, it's so cute. All the photos in the background are so good. Polly being amazed that there's a bird outside that doesn't want to eat them, and Anne's dad being super serious about lockdown, coming in and closing the window. And I just paused on a very funny frame as well where it's at this particular angle of Anne's dad.
He's looking at the camera like, do you see this shit?
Do you see this BS? Frogs in the bathroom, can't have anything in LA. Totally, Rooster. Totally.
One of his eyes is slightly lazy as well.
Oh, that's funny. Sprig continuing to microwave stuff, and we can see that there's definitely some stuff that he microwaved in between the potato and this shoe that he's got here, because there's stuff that exploded and got all over the microwave.
Rest in peace, Anne's one yellow shoe.
Her one remaining shoe is gone now.
Ruined.
Terrible. I love this beautiful friendship that seems to be forming between Domino and Polly. This is a hilarious image with Domino careening forward and Polly riding Domino on his back. It's really, really good. Finally, Anne's shoe is gone. Exactly, Bort. Exactly.
What do you mean finally? That shoe saw her through so many battles.
It was there from the beginning. And now it's finally gone.
It's been later. You're really dunking on this shoe. I won't stand for it. Not in this household.
And then we get this kind of recurring bit in this montage too, right? Where we see Anne's mom in particular always kind of right on top of Anne, right in Anne's business, right? So like Domino and Polly run off the screen. Anne is trying to catch them, and she falls over, and it's barely even a trip, right? She's just kind of fallen to the floor, but there her mom is, right, with the first aid kit right over her shoulder, like ready to help her daughter. And this frame that we see here with Anne's mom with the first aid kit and Anne looking kind of disgruntled. This is the kind of like first hint that we see, right, that Anne's mom is being particularly overbearing, particularly smothering, which makes sense from her perspective, right? Like her daughter was gone for 5 months and she's like finally got her back for the first time. So it makes sense why Anne's mom would be like this, but I also it's very clear that it's like making Anne uncomfortable. This was a really funny gag to me. This got a really good chuckle out of me as well, with Anne searching on the equivalent of Google, which of course in this universe is called Dougal. And she writes, she just types it out, right? She has a problem and she's gonna search it on the internet, right? Like how to defeat a newt king, how to defeat an evil newt
if
king.
I actually Google that.
Are you gonna try to Google it?
I'm doing it. How to defeat an evil newt king. Okay, we've got 3 answers. The first says nuke. The second just says that Matt Braley is confirmed there's a way you can beat Andreas. And the third says licks lips, salamander soup. Which I like. I mean, I feel like a nuke is overkill. I feel like just a solid pump action shotgun will probably do the trick.
Sure. Something beefy enough. What are we talking about? Anyway, it is funny though that Anne did think to Google it at very least. Like that, of course, it makes sense to me.
Does it? Why would Google know?
Hey, what else are you gonna do when you're totally stuck and have no idea what to do? You're gonna go Google it.
She's in LA. She could just buy a gun.
I love how we see, Anne just in time catching Sprig trying to microwave her phone and being like, no, this is not something you want to microwave. Curtains closed, no looking outside, doors closed, no looking outside, windows closed, no looking outside. Basically, Anne's dad is extremely strict when it comes to this lockdown. He does not want anyone in this family catching the coronavirus. Wait, go back to the Google page. The 3 colors of the computer are the calamity colors. Oh, is that right? Is that true? Let me go back. Oh, I think this might be what you're talking about, right, Bort? The screen where she's searching up the search results and it's like green, blue, and pink on the screen. Is that maybe what you're talking about? That is an interesting little decision that they did there with those colors. I wonder if that is going to be relevant later.
I mean, it would make sense. I feel like they've done all that setup.
I actually would be surprised. Because, like, with Owl House, right, there was, in yesterday's live, we got some kind of confirmation that there is at least some knowledge in the human world of the Boiling Isles. So I am wondering, right, like, could there be some evidence of Amphibia or any of these other worlds, right? Like, we know we've been confirmed that there are other worlds and other, like, quote unquote alien species and stuff, right? So could there be some evidence to that, like, on Earth? I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't have the answer to that question, but it's a good question.
It's something I want to get an answer to, I hope. I really do hope that, like, that is something that they address. Like, oh, is Anne the first, are Anne and Sasha and Marcy the first humans to go to Amphibia, like, since recorded history, or have there been other humans that have, like, managed to travel back and forth between worlds, right? Like, that's a really interesting question that I hope that we get an answer to later on, and I'd be fine.
The difference is that in the Owl House there is some kind of legacy of people knowing about humanity, knowing that humans exist. It's limited knowledge, but it's there. There's none of that in Amphibia. Like, no one knows it. Like, the books explain something about the music box, but there isn't that kind of knowledge that exists in the Owl House. of
Yeah.
humanity.
But Bort
So
has a good question. How did the box end up on Earth, right? So I mean,
it was
I hope that that's a question that we get an answer to in season 3.
it was me, I confess.
Tom
I'm
is the
sorry,
one who
guys.
went to Amphibia and brought it back.
It was me. You've all been punked. I'm sorry. I just have to mention, I've just noticed that your background is a looping GIF,
Yes.
where the car is just driving back and forth
Yes.
between, like, just off the frame. It's just driving back and forth into this parking spot.
Yep.
And it's driving me slightly insane.
Gem Princess says that there's that book about the box that Marcy found. That's true. So there is evidence.
That's what I'm talking about. But the book doesn't actually elaborate on humanity in the way that there exists some kind of baseline knowledge about humanity in the Owl House.
Yeah. So it could also be, Rooster Tamer has a theory that the book could be not from Earth either. Like it could be written by a planter ancestor, or like someone else from one of the other worlds, or like someone else from Amphibia. Like we don't know for sure that book came from Earth either.
I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
It was me. It was me. I wrote the book. You've all
damn it,
been
Tom.
punked.
Damn it. It's all your fault that Andreas is after us now.
I did it as a shit post and it got horribly out of control.
Damn, your trolling went too far.
Classic Tom antics.
Classic
right?
Tom. I wanted to pause on this frame in particular because this is something I noticed as I rewatched the episode. First of all, again, just want to give a lot of kudos to these details that are on Anne's bedside table, right? Like she's got these hair ties, the bobby pins, the like chapstick, and her like nail polish and stuff. Like again, just really fleshes out the world, really makes it feel really lived in, and all of that good stuff too. But I wanted to point out on this specific frame that in Anne's bed frame, there is some letters carved out here that says BFF MWSW, which of course are none other than Marcy and Sasha. And this is a particularly heartbreaking thing because, obviously they've been the best friends that they have been up until this point. Is their friendship perfect? No, there's a lot of issues within their dynamics that obviously the show has been working on throughout the entire first 2 seasons. But this, I think is just like a reminder for Anne kind of like how messed up everything is now. Like,
well,
or
personally,
yeah,
I think that the initials stand for Mark Wahlberg and Steve Wright.
I am giving you such a like deadpan look right now. I don't know if you can see, but I am rolling my eyes at you.
Mark Wahlberg and Steve Wright.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I'm not even sorry. Oh
my god! Rooster Tamer's comment here makes me laugh too. That devious lick gone wrong. I started an interdimensional conquest, not clickbait.
And it's like that. You can imagine the thumbnail of that video.
Yeah,
and it's me going like, whoa, completely insane.
Yeah,
most obnoxious. It's got like it's a 5-minute long video with
your face is like
86 ad breaks.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so again, another moment, right, where Anne's mom is like right up in her business. Anne is trying to sleep. She is in her bed, but her mom is right on top of her brushing her hair, which again is very sweet. We understand where you're coming from, Mama Boonchoy, but it's a little
Mama Boonchoy.
It's a little suffocating, if you get what I mean.
Maybe
also,
she's checking up for lice because
ticks. Yeah.
She's been in a swamp place for several months.
True. Good point. And yeah, I also agree with you, Bort, that I love how everything Anne has is cat themed, like her little alarm clock here on her bedside. She loves cats. What can we say? And yeah, I love Mama Boonchoy as well. She is one of my favorite cartoon moms, probably, and also with Anne's dad, like the moment we get with them in the grocery store later. We'll get to it when we get to it, but I absolutely adore them.
They're just a couple of cute characters. I particularly like the dad, though. He's very placid.
He is great.
He's just kind of chill. He's just kind of a guy.
Yeah. Here's another one of those like amazing expressions that we get. Anne opens the bathroom mirror cabinet, and then when she closes it, her mom is of course right there beside her, and we get this amazing expression from Anne as she's like startled by her mom squeezing the toothpaste out of the toothpaste. I always love any of the shots where we can like see their nostrils. Like I always find those like particularly hilarious.
I'm thinking of when she drinks Hot Pop's night juice.
Yeah, exactly.
That face is just
This is also a funny line from Sprig, right? Where he's like, also, do you have any more of these candy bars? And he's holding up a tube of lipstick. I
forgot about that.
I do have to wonder, like, kind of how different frogs' like taste buds are, because obviously they eat bugs and they think bugs are delicious. I think Anne eventually finds bugs delicious, but they're obviously like really into the human food, right? Like they're super into noodles, we find out later. So I wonder if like, does this lipstick actually taste good to Sprig, or does it like taste like lipstick and he just like doesn't know what food is?
Do you know this is making me think of that line in Scrubs? Did you eat my mango body butter? No. I smeared it on a bagel.
Oh, I remember that. Scrubs is such a great show.
Scrubs is a great show.
You're so right, Bort. The planters were especially chaotic in this episode, but that's why we love them.
I feel like Sprig would probably eat almost anything.
He probably will. Yeah, he's willing to try anything at least once.
Sprig has very low standards.
I love how when we cut back from commercial too, right? I didn't even notice this in the first watch, but when we cut back to commercial, Sprig is still eating the lipstick. He's got it all over his face. Oh man. And they're like shared expression here where they're just kind of like, yeah, like we don't see anything that's going on wrong. We're just like happy to be here.
They do literally all have the same facial expression.
It's really
they don't know what's happening.
Head empty.
No thoughts, head empty.
Zoe says that, no joke, I thought lipstick was candy when I was a kid, and I did the same. Zoe, oh my god, you're having a Sprig moment. Yeah, Zoe, I would imagine that lipstick did not taste particularly great.
Yet.
And Anne has another great expression here where she's like, I know. And what I really appreciate about Anne too, right, is that, kind of throughout season 1, especially, I just kind of finished rewatching the show as we've been working on our videos, Tom. But as I was rewatching season 1, they're really, I feel like a central theme that often comes up in especially these kind of like family centric episodes is kind of like this idea of families do butt heads. They do disagree. There are situations that come up where, there's conflicting motivations, right? Like on either side. And that's something I feel that like Anne kind of had to learn, especially throughout season 1, is like she had to understand that other people have their motivations for doing things, and even though they are in conflict with what I want and my motivations, like it's still coming from somewhere, and I have to like understand that in order to find a compromise to like move forward, right? And I feel like it's
a symbol of how much she's developed as a character.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, that's something that season 1 Anne was like learning how to do, but now in season 3 she's actually like applying that knowledge, and I really love seeing that growth from Anne. Like this speech that she gives to her parents, she says, I know that you guys are worried about me. I know I was gone for 5 months. I know that you're being protective and all that stuff, but I'm going crazy. I need a little more space, right? Like, so I really appreciated that from Anne.
It's the thing of like, there's so much you take for granted living with your own parents, but
yeah, being
thrust into a different world, living with a different family where that's just not going to fly. Yeah. It's the perfect platform to learn that kind of dynamic.
Yeah, and I feel like these are conflicts that she had a lot, like with Hot Pop, for example. And I noticed that this was kind of a theme throughout the entire first season, especially, but also in season 2. So it's satisfying to kind of get this moment from Anne here.
For sure.
But yeah, she says, you're driving me crazy. I need a little bit more space. Her parents are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm getting kicked in the head by this little frog. um, and Anne is kind of like, let us go out for an hour, please. And I love that too, right? Like she's not saying like, get off my back, leave me alone. I'm gonna run away again. She's just kind of like, I understand where you're coming from. Let us out for an hour, right? Like it's totally like responsible, totally like decent. Um, uh, 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 like a normal expected response. But of course, Anne's parents are like, absolutely not. We are not going to let you out. The last time you went out on your own, you disappeared for 5 months. And, Sprig's like, he's got a good point there,
Fair enough.
actually.
It's fair enough.
Fair point. Fair point.
And like the look on her mum's face before Anne knocks on the door, that is the face of someone who's living an empty life. Like that, it clearly had a massive effect on them.
Of course, of course. They were obviously really upset and really scared and yeah, really just like, maybe hopeless at this point. I mean, 5 months is a long time to be missing. So of course she was like afraid and upset and like it totally again makes sense that she would be so overprotective of Anne here. But and I love that Anne understands that. Anne's like, I get where you're coming from, but like you can't be brushing my hair in bed, Mom. Yeah, Anne's mom is kind of like, no, this isn't happening. I need to go to the market. You guys stay at home. And Anne actually is like, let us come to the market with you, right? Like, this is a perfect chance for us to go out. And I feel like Anne also wants to show the planters, right? Like the human world and all this other stuff that, they will now get to experience. And I again just want to point out the backgrounds on the show, like the god, the little god temple in the background here, the shrine. Like this is just something that's in a lot of Asian households.
The interior decor and like the upholstery is really well thought out.
Yeah, like it feels really familiar to me. Like I grew up in a really immigrant heavy area. Like a lot of Asian folks live in my neighborhood. I'm Asian myself, and so like a lot of it just feels really familiar and really like comfortable. And so like I feel like just a lot of thought went into it because it just feels like my friends' houses, which is really great.
Absolutely.
Anne insists that she's going to be responsible. This is, again, another really funny visual gag that got a good laugh out of me, with Anne's dad being like, you're literally the poster child for being irresponsible. You drew this when you were 6. And it's like, Anne, age 6, I hate responsibility.
And I like that her spelling is great. Like, she spelled that word. Age 6, she spelled that multi-syllabic word perfectly.
Yeah, she's not all that dumb, huh?
I mean, she is all that dumb, but she's good at spelling.
And yeah, totally, Morgan, what you said, that they paid attention to the details. You could tell that a lot of people of color worked on this. And yeah, I mentioned it earlier when some other details were obvious too. But, Matt Bradley himself is Thai. And so it's really cool that he, thought that this was important enough to include all these details. And I really appreciate that. Anne insists that she's changed, right? She's like, don't worry, guys, I'm a different person now. She's like really trying to convince them that she's matured. Hop Pop tries to aid her in her argument, of course. And she's like, it is really funny, like the way that Hop Pop does it. It's like, yeah, she's Frog of the Year. She came a long way. I'm a parent too. I get it. And then he sort of goes off on this tangent, right? Where he's like, sure, did she burn the town down once? Yeah. Did we almost get eaten by a giant monster? Of course. And then he like just trails off on this like, what was I saying again?
That's a kind of running gag with Hop Pop, is that he'll sort of go off on one. It kind of reminds me of I think it might even be the second episode. It might literally be the second episode when they want to go to the lake. Or they just want to leave. They want to get out of the house. It is kind of like a reversal of that, isn't it? This whole episode is a bit of a reversal of that.
Yeah.
Where they want to get out of the house, but it's like, no. People around here, they're not ready to see you. You're a strange, unfamiliar, unusual, horrifying. So yeah, no, I get it. I get the point.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there are a lot of parallels to this episode in the first episode, right? With Hop Hop trying to keep Anne and Sprig locked up, and then Anne being like, F it, I'm gonna go out anyway. And then in this episode, right,
Now
her
let's go rob an old man.
and then in this episode, right, really showing how much she's grown, where she's like, I'm going to stay in quarantine. I'm going to go out for just an hour and we're going to go with my parents. We're going to be responsible. We're going to, be safe, all that stuff, right? So yeah, really just the parallels show how much Anne has developed in these last two seasons.
It's got to be deliberate, hasn't it?
Of course, I would think
having
so.
this episode parallel one of the first episodes of the whole show and
Yeah,
demonstrate a very different, like it demonstrates a totally different approach to solving the problem, doesn't it?
yeah,
Because her approach to solving the problem in episode 2 is like, I mean, I guess it's technically episode 1 because they do release them as like 2 10-minute episodes that are in a single 20-minute block. Where she's like, yeah, I'm going to steal the key and leave and I'm going to break out. Whereas here it's like taking a much more diplomatic approach.
right. Where she's like, I'm going to talk to my parents. I'm going to convince them this is a good idea. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love the parallels between the first and this episode. It's really, really cool to see, and really does emphasize Anne's character growth.
Our dumb idiot baby is growing up.
She's a responsible dumb idiot baby now. And I do also really appreciate that Anne's parents are like, she does seem more mature now. She does seem like she grew up a little bit. Like, I really love that. Like, they see that growth in her and they like give her a chance. Like, I really, really appreciate that about Anne's parents.
Yeah, they're just a couple of chill beans.
There's some good beans.
And they have proportionate hands, which implies that that your hands remain the same size from birth, but you grow into them in this world.
Yeah, and your head, right?
The massive meaty mitts. I don't want to know how hard Anne can punch, because those look like some hands that could do some serious damage.
You don't want to catch her hands for sure.
You don't want to catch those hands.
This was also a really funny gag. This is classic. This is classic cutaway gag right here, right? Where Anne is like, Earth is great. It's so different from Amphibia. There's nothing going to be trying to kill us here. Cut to the thing that's going to be trying to kill them.
I have some things I want to say about Andreas and the depiction of Andreas in this episode.
Yeah. Before we get to what you say about Andreas, I do want to just read Morgan's comments in the chat here that Anne's parents really are understanding. And yeah, I really think they are. They're some of the like most understanding kind of parents. Because if it were me, if I'd lost my daughter for 5 months and she was like, let us go out for an hour, I'd be like, hell no, you are not leaving my sight.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. It's fair.
Anyway, yeah, let's go to this Andreas scene. So we cut to the scary castle that's still floating in the sky. Andreas has still got the box here. It's still active. It's still able to travel between worlds, which is interesting. And, he's like, there's only one thing that can stop me at this point, and Boon Choi. And of course, it's this adorable, hilarious picture of her and Sprig taking a selfie together, which is always fun. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Andreas in this scene?
I guess I'm going to be talking about stuff that kind of hasn't happened yet, but it's in the scene, so I'm going to talk about it anyway.
Yeah, let's just talk about the scene.
I appreciate that they retained a certain silliness about him, a certain silliness about his character.
Yes, me too.
I really, really, really hate when shows will do like, they'll do a 180 on a character, like, oh, this character's so nice and fun, and oh, it was all an act, and it's like, okay, so you've just you've just reversed all this characterization of this person. He's bad. He's like a bad guy, but like that inherent silliness and kind of irreverent personality is still there.
Yes.
It's still there. Him talking about chips and all that crap. Like
the Cynthia Coven book.
The Cynthia Coven book. Like he's still like a silly asshole. He's just an evil silly asshole, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It makes it so like he wasn't really ever. He was masking one part of his personality, but he was still being somewhat true to himself.
Yeah.
Even prior to him revealing the depths of what it is he actually wants to do.
Yeah, I really love that they retained some of his silliness as well. he obviously is this character that is very manipulative, very calculating, right? But yeah, it's exactly what you said, right? Like it's a lot easier to lie to someone when you have like a little bit of the truth kind of embedded in there. And I think like in order to kind of fool Marcy, right, he did kind of allow a little bit of his own personality to come through. And I do think that that silliness, um, and what's interesting is like it's not really silly for him. Like he's actually pretty serious about it. He's like, "Oh, I want this book. I want these potato chips." But it's kind of silly to us as the audience because like this juxtaposition, right? Like we talk about this in our comedy video about like the juxtaposition being where the humor comes from. So it's this juxtaposition, right, of like this big towering villainous evil newt king who just like wants to eat some potato chips, right?
There's a sentence you really never thought you were going to say.
He just wants some chippies.
Big towering Newt King wants to eat some potato chips.
Yeah, and what Morgan says too, how Andreas is exposed as a villain, but he's still characterized as a person. I really like that as well. Yeah, if the robot doesn't bring back the book, I'm gonna be furious. I am too, Zoe. And one thing I do wanna kind of say too with this potato chip thing. Amphibia is really, really, really good at kind of pulling these really minor gags and then those jokes becoming extremely plot relevant like later in the episode and being kind of like the thing that ties everything together and like the thing that like informs the resolution to the conflict, right? So I would think it would be really hilarious and just like really funny and really in like fitting with this show if the potato chip thing were to come back in some significant way where they like use Andreas's like weakness for potato chips like to help defeat him or something like that. Like I just think that would be really funny and like just really in theme with the show. I mean, obviously, I think they're going to have to do more than just like use potato chips to defeat Andreas, but it would be funny to me if the potato chips were in some way involved with their plan to overthrowing him.
Or at least involved in some way with their ability to defeat the robot.
Yeah, yeah. In some ways, like comes to their aid somehow. Or I hope it's what Bort says actually in the chat that I hope someone spoils the book series for him. That is like one of those things where it's like, oh, I hope he steps on a Lego, right? It's like, oh man, I hope someone spoils Cynthia Coven for him. But one important thing too in this scene, right, is that Andreas actually tells the robot, don't get seen by any Earthlings, right? Like that's something that does kind of become relevant later in the episode too. But he does make it a point to tell the robot not to be seen by Earthlings. And I'm kind of curious. I want to get your thoughts on that. Like, why do you think like that's so important to Andreas? I mean, I guess like if he is planning to, try to take over Earth, like he's trying to invade Earth and take over it, maybe he wants to, eliminate Anne more under the radar. I don't know. Like, what do you think of this?
It's what was said earlier in the chat of like, it would be really, really helpful if Earth could somehow prepare for an interdimensional attack, right? If he's planning on invading, he wants to uphold some kind of degree of subterfuge until that point. Right. It's just strategically the best position to take, right?
That's true. That's true. That makes a lot of sense.
If they find some like interdimensional robot and it gives them a preemptive upper hand, even if just a slight one, it's going to screw him. So
yeah, that's a good point, because I was thinking from the perspective of like, oh, like it sure is convenient for Anne that this robot happens to want to be also secretive as well. That way she can kind of continue to hide it from her parents for a little bit at least. But that's a good point. I didn't really think of that.
It's I mean, there are so many things that the government could do with this thing,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's being said in the chat they could reverse engineer.
Yeah, Morgan and Zoe have some good points in the chat. Yep, you guys are right. You guys are very, very smart.
But basically the bottom line is it would key them off to there being the presence of some kind of extraterrestrial, for lack of a better term, force that they need to be aware of and that they could begin preempting in some degree. So
I also want to point out that when the robot is confused, he has little question marks in his eyes, which I just think is really delightful.
Just a little robo friend.
He's just a little robo friend. But there he goes back into Earth. I also yeah, it's interesting, right? So it is a little curious to me, obviously it does make sense that Andreas would want to kind of silently eliminate Anne before his invasion to Earth, because Anne right now does stand to be the only thing that is able to stop him because she is connected to the Calamity Box still. So I'm just curious about, what his thinking is. Like, is Anne having the Calamity Box powers really that kind of much of a deterrent for him to continue his plans? Like, I don't know. Like, it's interesting, the way that he's kind of
it makes her
strategizing
hella
it.
strong.
It does. It does. I wonder if they're gonna put Frobo's head on the new robot. Oh, maybe that might be a Zoe. But I think there's some hints as to what might be going on with Frobo in some of the previews and stuff. But I won't talk about that here. We get the reveal also that Marcy is alive. She's in this tank, right? Andreas kind of looks over his shoulder to look at her. He's obviously got some plans for her. We don't really know at this point what they are, but of course, if you have seen the preview trailer that came out before this episode came out, we do kind of know what's going to be happening to Marcy. I don't know if I should say it here in case it's a spoiler, but yeah, some scary stuff in store for
pretty
Marcy.
Haunting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, alive, exactly, Zoe. Yeah, but this is scary, right? This is definitely an ominous moment that we get in this episode, in between all the like hilarity. This is definitely a more frightening moment. Oh, poor Marcy. Poor Marcy. She messed up. She made some mistakes, but she doesn't deserve this.
She doesn't deserve that at all. She made mistakes, but she's ultimately got a good heart.
She does. Morgan says, I wonder if Andreas realizes that if he kills Anne, there'll be a police investigation, which might lead to Earth finding out. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if it would get that far. I seriously doubt that the police would, if Anne were killed, I doubt their first line of inquiry would be interdimensional robot.
Yeah.
/ Newt King from another
Maybe,
world.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, thank you, Morgan. Really appreciate you checking out the video. Really, really, really means a lot to us.
Them keys.
Thank you. Alrighty, let's get back into the episode, right? So the frog robot is officially on Earth now. It's able to kind of track Anne's Calamity Box powers. It has like a sensor for like the blue energy kind of, so it's able to sense where Anne is, which is interesting. And then it also has this like stealthing capability, right? Like it can turn invisible.
Oh, look at the little smile. He does a little happy face.
Yeah. I also want to point out in the background that the grocery store here is called Trader Flo's, and I just thought that was funny.
We don't have Trader Joe's in the UK, so I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that.
Also, why? I get that this is like a way to show like that the robot is traveling while invisible, but this robot always is jumping on cars, and I just think that that's kind of funny.
It's honestly, it's just spite.
It's just spite. It's like, fuck all these other robots.
I cannot stop looking at that car in the bottom left corner, just driving back and forth. The most indecisive driver on the planet. Like, do I want to go to the store? No, I'm going home. Or do I?
I love this little bit of characterization that we get of Anne too, right? Like they tell her that, or they say that like she really liked yellow as a kid, which I thought was really cute. So like all her little kid clothes are yellow. She's got this like cheese head t-shirt for some reason.
Now I'll never make it to the cheese museum.
And then here we go. Here's your favorite moment of the episode with the sexiest character on the show, right?
Yeah. Revealing Hot Pop to be the absolute slice that he is.
Hot Pop is pretty hot, not gonna lie.
If you've got it, you gotta flaunt it, like he says.
And boy, does he flaunt it.
Hashtag thick.
Oh my gosh, stop. Yeah, Zoe agreeing, hop up looking sexy AF. If you got it, flaunt it. Exactly, Morgan. 100%, 100%. I gotta love
I'm
hop
just
up.
like, I'm just sweating.
Stop. Yeah, I love everyone's like horrified reactions to it too. Like Sprig and Polly just looking like absolutely like just upset. They're fully upset. And then Anne just being like, yeah, no, this is not gonna work. Hop pop, more like hot pop. Hey, good one, Zoe.
True.
Oh my god.
You can expect to see Hop Pop on the front cover of Vanity Fair next week.
Oh my god. I was gonna make another joke, but I messed that up. Anyway, so they do manage to find some disguises that work for them, though. Anne uses a little bit of Play-Doh, which I absolutely love, to stick on Hop Hop's face and give him, as he says, his very own face bump. Which is very, very cute. And then I love that they do like this gag too, right? With like the two kids on top of each other in the trench coat. That's like a classic trope that's been like in media forever, right? Like it's a really old joke.
It's Vincent Adult Man. There's a gag in BoJack Horseman. This was the point where I realized I was really getting into BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
Which the comedy in that show didn't throw me in the first season, but they introduced this character called Vincent Adult Man, who was one of the characters like she it's like a rebound, right?
Yeah.
Like she starts dating this guy called Vincent Adult Man who's very obviously three kids in a trench coat. And you think that it's just like a throwaway gag, and it isn't. And she remains with Vincent Adult Man for like a full season.
That's terrible. That's really
and there's
funny.
like a breakup scene and everything, and it's just don't think too hard about the ethics of it, but it's like it's just a great gag.
That is really funny. But what makes this Amphibia gag especially delightful and especially tickling is the fact that you would think it would make more sense to have Sprig be on the bottom, considering he's larger and has more stable legs. But no, Polly, who is far too excited about the fact that she finally does have her own legs, is like, I am not giving up a chance to use these babies. And so she's like, I'ma be the legs, you be the head. And I absolutely love that, because, you know, it adds to the physical comedy of them being just like off balance all the time. And then like, of course, Polly's like little legs like scampering under them is just so funny to watch. Yeah, it's such a delight to see Polly using her legs, and I just absolutely love it. It's so fun.
Hot Pop wearing a fedora.
And yeah, totally agree with you, Morgan, that Anne's room is super adorable. Again, it just has like all these little details that just make it so like full and lived in. Like the fact that like
tennis balls, running trophy,
the athletic stuff, her stars that she's got like on the ceiling, right? Like I used to have those glow in the dark stars too. The fact that like
we all did.
We all did, yeah. Her like closet is like slightly broken and stuff like that too, right? Like, yeah, just really feels like she lived in this room for 13 years, and I really appreciate that.
It's delightful.
It is. Yeah, so they're very excited, and of course that leads to them knocking everything over. So it's like maybe we don't do any more excited jumps. I wanted to also in particular pause on this frame here of them going to the grocery store. I loved this grocery store so much I had to make it the background of today's stream. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with the 99 Ranch market, 99 Ranch is actually a real chain of grocery stores that's like Asian grocery stores. They're like Asian markets basically. And so the fact that this one is called 99 Ranchers just really got a good tickle out of me in particular, because there are many 99 ranches around the areas that I live in. And especially when we get to the interior of the store, again, it's like these little details in the background that just make it so fleshed out and so like thoughtful. Like it felt familiar to me. Like I've been to this grocery store so many times before, and it felt like I was in that grocery store, and it was really awesome to see that.
Do you want to hear the joke that I wrote
for
this bit? It's not very good, but I wrote it down, so
yes,
I have to say it.
Please.
I owe it to I don't know if I owe it to myself, but I wrote it down, so I feel like I have to say it.
Okay,
you ready?
I'm ready.
I got 99 ranches, but a frog ain't one.
Boo.
It's okay. No one has to pretend that one was funny because I know it wasn't funny, but I wrote it down, so I had to say it.
But this line that we get here, I wanna draw some attention to this line in particular because we talked a little bit earlier about like how much has Anne's parents interacted with Anne, not with Anne, obviously they interacted with Anne. I meant to say how much has Anne's parents interacted with Marcy and Sasha. And there's this line here that Anne's dad says where he says something along the lines of like, you three got to behave yourselves, or like I'll be watching you three. And then he corrects himself. So he says, sorry, I mean you four. And I feel like it's not that he was like miscounting or like forgetting one of the planters, but rather he's just used to saying you three because he's used to talking to Anne, Sasha, and Marcy. At least that's
maybe he
my
just
theory.
maybe just hates Polly.
No.
Just really has it out for Polly. She's been kicking him all damn day. Just wants to imagine she doesn't exist.
No.
I mean, I are they wearing their two kids in a trench coat disguise right now?
Oh, I guess they are. They are, yeah.
Because that would explain why he would miscount. But I was not paying close enough attention.
Yeah, I feel like it could be either way.
Do you want to take it back so we can see? Because I want confirmation as to whether or not they're wearing the disguise, the two kids in a trench coat disguise.
Yeah,
because if they are, then I imagine that's probably the reason for miscounting.
Yeah, they technically are. But Polly's face is sticking out. So I don't know.
I'm gonna resist your interpretation on this one. Yeah, they're wearing the two kids in a trench coat disguise. So I think that's probably why he said you three.
That's fair. I think it's fair to push back, but I really do. I don't know. I really think it's because he's used to talking to the three girls, and
I'm just going off the visual information we're being given here of what he's looking at. Like he's functionally looking at three people, but then realize he's not looking at three people. He's looking at four.
I don't know.
I just feel like that makes more sense in the context of the scene.
I'll be interested to know if it does play a part later. I mean, it could just be a gag based off of the fact that they're in a trench coat, or it could be
probably that. Like, let's be real. It's probably that.
I don't know. I'm gonna hang on to my theory. I'm hanging on to it.
I will arm wrestle you over this.
That's fine.
I will, so help me God. I will come to California. I will arm wrestle you.
Morgan likes my interpretation, so I'm gonna take that as a win. Anne's mom is like, we just made a big mistake, didn't we? And he's like, yep. And I really do kind of appreciate that, like, at the end of the episode, they do kind of, like, accept, like, okay, this went well, this was fine. But, of course, we as the audience know that, yeah, there were some bad things that was probably not the best idea to come to the market, right?
I mean, nothing goes wrong. The rest of the episode is smooth sailing. Everything's perfect and everything's fine.
Sure. Yeah, again, I just really want to give so much love to the backgrounds and the settings of this show. Like, this really does feel so much like an Asian market to me. Like all the I mean, like, the thing with like an Asian market and a normal supermarket, obviously they're very similar. Like, it's a grocery store at the end of the day, but there are like some little details to like an Asian market that do make it like a little bit different. Like, we do have some of these brands that are here that you don't get at the normal grocery store. They also do tend to be like a little bit like messier in terms of like how they're stocked. I don't really know if that's everywhere or if it's just the 99 ranches that I've been to, but they've got stuff kind of like on top of the shelves and stuff like that too. More often than not, there'll be like a dining area where you can like buy hot food and like sit down and eat over there. And yeah, there's just like all these little details that we'll continue to see throughout the episode that just like really make it feel like a real Asian market that I've been to before, which is really cool.
Closest thing we have to that, because we do have Asian stores in the UK, but they're like independent.
Yeah.
They're not like franchises, they're independent vendors. Closest thing we have to that, we have two non-profit organizations, one called Lidl and the other called Aldi, and there's a whole like lore behind that because they were brothers and they started separate businesses, and there's like a whole like adventure behind that that's worth googling. But it looks exactly like this, except instead of like Asian produce. It's European,
Mm,
from like all over Europe.
that's cool. Um, I love this like little running gag with Sprig too throughout the entire episode where he like thinks everything is a robot. And so he's like, "Is this a robot?" You know, as referring to the self-checkout machine, and Anne's like, "Yeah, kind of. Like it's you know, a computer kind of thing." And then Sprig, you know, points to the human being at the counter and being like, "Is that a robot?" And then Anne is like, "Not everything's a robot, buddy." And you know, this cutaway, this visual gag where Sprig just points to the robot. This got a really good laugh out of me too.
It might just be that I'm a Blade Runner fiend, but that bit when he says, "Is he a robot?" and points at the cashier just immediately made me think of Blade Runner.
Well, yeah, maybe he is a robot. I don't know.
That could come out of nowhere and gun him down in the middle of the shop and then look pensive about it and leave.
Oh my god. Yeah. No, but I really this cutaway gag got a really good laugh out of me where Anne's like, "Not everything is a robot." Point to everything being a robot. And Anne's just like, "Okay, good point." This was a really great moment too, right? Where Anne's dad is like, "I forgot the shopping list. Abort mission, right? They're already super nervous about the fact that Anne and the planters are here. He's ready for an excuse to leave. And so he's like, "Abort mission, I forgot the shopping list." But Anne, of course, right, being the responsible, mature teenager that she is now, very intelligently took a photo of the shopping list before they left the house. So responsible of you, Anne. I'm so proud of you. I also do want to just point out again the details on the show. This shopping list in particular is like such an Asian mom shopping list. Like it's got all these ingredients that are like specific to Asian cooking, which I really, really appreciate. And some of these ingredients you can only get at the Asian grocery store. Like I have not been able to find fish sauce at a normal grocery store.
Fish sauce?
Yeah, you never splash a little bit of fish sauce in your food?
I've never heard of fish sauce.
It's a really common ingredient in Asian cooking. It's like you really only just need to add like a little bit because it's really like pungent. Um, but it's good. It's good stuff. Polly asked for some money to go buy a lottery ticket, and Anne was like, "You will do no such thing." Like again, just showing how responsible Anne has become. Like I really like that, and of course, a very in character for Polly to want to buy a lotto ticket. I love that Hop Hop's love of vegetables is still very much a core component of his character. You know, he goes over to the produce and he's like, "This is so small. Like these tomatoes are tiny." But of course, he gets really excited when he sees the durian. Have you ever had a durian, Tom?
Yes, I have had a durian.
What do you think of them?
I'm generally, they do smell
They
very
smell awful.
very unique. But I got nothing against the taste. I'm generally there aren't that many foods that I'll just straight up refuse to eat. I can only think of like one food that I just won't eat, and that's black pudding, and that's because it's literally a sausage made of blood.
Oh yeah, that sounds gross.
And that's like I can't understand the appeal. It's a matter of principle, okay?
Yeah, that's fair.
Little time.
Yeah, all of y'all who can eat durians, y'all are more powerful than me, honestly, because there are a lot of like tropical fruits that I just like can't eat because of the smell. And like durians are definitely one of them. Jackfruit is another one of them.
Jackfruit is like a fantastic ingredient for vegan pulled pork
Oh yeah.
recipes. So it's, it is what it is.
Yeah, jackfruit, papaya is a kind of stinky fruit. Yeah, there's just a lot of fruit that's hard for me to eat just because like they're so stinky. But I really do love I really do love mangoes. Mangoes are probably the best fruit just of all time. Like they're so good. Y'all and your stinky fruit. Y'all could just be loving your stinky fruit. I will be in my corner.
Well, the thing is, I've never had jackfruit just as jackfruit. I've only ever had jackfruit as pulled pork.
Yeah.
So it tasted of pulled pork. It didn't taste of jackfruit. It was marinated heavily in like sauce. And
yeah. I just I just can't deal with the smell. It's just too stinky.
It definitely isn't stinky when it's turned into pulled pork. It just smells like pulled pork.
Yeah, I'd imagine once you add like sauce and seasoning and stuff, it's a little better.
But yeah, mango's a pretty good fruit. I'm a big fan of raspberries, and I'm a big fan of passion fruit,
Ooh, passion fruit is great too.
or as we call it in South Africa, gorilla fruit.
Ooh. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, Zoe. To me, papaya is a little stinky, but definitely less stinky than jackfruit or durian, in my opinion. But it does kind of have a smell to me, at least. Anyway, moving on from the produce talk. Anne asks her parents if she could take the planters to go get some noodles, which is always very exciting.
Noodles.
I love the hot food section at these grocery stores. They're always like really, really good. I personally love getting fried rice from these food places at the grocery store. Um, I really love they also have some pretty like unique stuff there. You know, they're hesitant, of course. Anne's parents, they don't want to leave them out of their sight. They're already pretty apprehensive. But Anne, of course, you know, demonstrating her responsibility, you know, she's like, I've got my phone, you can call me. I'm gonna like keep an eye on them, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so she's really on top of it and really like proving herself to her parents at this point that she can be responsible. And I really love that they like give her the chance. And then, of course, there's a little funny bit of, you know, the planters going off in different directions. Pop Pop trying to go to the employees only door, and Sprig sticking his hand in a crab pot and wrangling them up and making sure that they're okay. So I really love that, you know, Anne's continuing to take care of them. After this episode, I wanted some noodles, but I can't get veggie instant ramen on here. No, Zoe, I hope you're able to get some noodles soon, because I totally agree with you that this episode I also wanted to eat some noodles after this episode too, because they looked so good.
My favorite thing about being in London when I
Yeah,
was studying for my master's degree, my very favorite thing is that literally everywhere you go, you're like 2 minutes away from a noodle joint. Like a
nice.
really nice, reasonably priced, independently owned little noodle place. And there are so many, and they're a joy to explore.
Yeah.
Um, and there was also when I was in, I don't remember if I've told this story on stream before. When I was in Falmouth studying, they had a restaurant there called Stone's Bakery, right? Where a Korean chef used to come the first Friday of every month. And he would do a limited menu of ramen dishes or sobu dishes.
Ooh.
And it was literally, I you not, £8, which is about $10 for 3 courses, for like a three course little
Ooh.
meal,
That
right?
sounds worth it.
And it was so good, and you could watch him make it. Like he was just right there in the middle of the restaurant. He had his little stand where he'd do it, and
Yeah, that's
it
neat.
was so good. And he's still there. He didn't go bust during COVID. He's still there doing
That's
it, and
great.
it's wonderful.
That's great. That is a good deal. I agree with Morgan. So yeah,
So if
hopefully.
y'all are ever in Falmouth, find out and see if you can coincide you being in Falmouth, Cornwall, to go to Stone's Bakery when that guy is doing his food, because it's good food. He used to do these courgette pancakes that were so good.
That sounds so
It was so
good.
good. It was all great. 10
I'm
out of
gonna come
10.
visit you, and you're gonna take me.
I am. I'll carry you there in my
Yes.
pocket because you're tiny.
Yes, take me there. Um, I really love this trope. I've seen this in other shows and stuff too, right? Where like something evil and invisible walks through an automatic door, and someone like looks at it puzzlingly as the door seems to open on its own, and uh the thing comes through, but we don't see it, right? Like I feel like that's a gag that I've seen before. Like this isn't the first time. Amphibia is not the one who invented this gag, but it's fun to see. It's always kind of funny to be like, oh yeah, it's just those automatic doors malfunctioning, but it's like, nope, something much scarier is here. And gets the planters their noodles. And one thing I really, you know, I mentioned this to you off stream, Tom, but I really love that we started this season off with a 22-minute episode. You know, there's a couple moments in the episode that feel like a little bit slower, but I really appreciated that because, you know, the planters are both literally and figuratively fish out of water. You know, this is a whole new world to them. They are experiencing all this stuff for the first time. So I really appreciate that this episode like allows us to have that little bit of breathing room, a little bit of time to just get the planters reactions and their experiences to these new things on earth that they never got to experience in Amphibia. And one of those moments is definitely this one where they're eating the noodles and they just like all have their reactions, right? Like Hop Hop gets a reaction, Spring gets a reaction, Polly gets this hilarious reaction where she's like, this is freaking delicious, right? Like I just love that we have these moments in this episode that really give us these fun character moments, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I don't know if I feel like slow pacing is always comes across as like a negative term,
Yeah,
which it
yeah.
isn't. Um, I think it's perfect. It's just what we needed for a first episode back to give us some more of those little character moments, because that's like there are so many little things about how everyone's been stewing on the idea, how the plant is going to respond to being in this world, and all the little things that are different here. And I
Yeah.
feel like food is a really, really big one.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love like, that they're eating these noodles, like as Anne says, it's like the staple of Asian food, right? Like they have to have some noodles.
Noobles.
And yeah, totally agree with what you say in the chat board that we as the audience need time to adjust to the new normal the same way the characters do. So yeah, I really just appreciated that this episode kind of gave us that time to breathe and appreciate the characters like just being in this world.
Mm, agreed.
Yes, yes, very, very good. And of course, like continuing with the backgrounds and stuff, like the little Asian cakes, the bakery in the background is like so, those exist. Those exist in the 99 ranch markets, and I love that. I love the animation with the invisible frog. Like the way that they do that is just really cool and really well done. And the way that he kind of sneaks around with his long spindly limbs like around the humans, like trying not to get caught. Like it's just really this frog robot already establishes itself as a really fun villain, and I'm excited to see more of him.
He's kind of cute.
He is kind of cute. He's got his little like expressions with his eyes, and he's trying
The,
not to get caught too, which is a little endearing. The way that he kind
the,
of
the
hides from
little
people.
the little smiley face.
He's got a little smiley face, and then these magnets cause him to short out more or less and make his invisibility go away for a second. And this is fun as we're continuing the running gag of Sprig calling everything a robot and him being like, it's a killer robot, and being like, come on, Sprig, that's just a little silly toy. And then of course, before we even have time to be like, no, Anne, you're actually wrong about that, she is squished and picked right up.
I love the look on her face.
Oh yeah, the look on her face is priceless. She's just absolutely like, ugh. This also, like, I don't know, it gives me some Gravity Falls vibes, and it really makes me laugh. Yeah, totally agree, Rooster. 10 out of 10 murder bot design.
I would not waste those noodles.
No, no.
That hurt. Seeing
That
those
was.
noodles get wasted hurt.
I agree. But you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
No, you gotta eat your noodles and let your friend die.
Fair enough. I also love again the details, right? This guy who works behind the counter has these sticky notes up here that say, "You got this, dude," and hydration check. Like it's just these little things that make it so fun. And oh, I just realized again, I just caught this reference that he's also reading the Monday Cat book that Sprig was reading earlier in the episode. But I really love, right, like the gag of like the guy being like, ugh, people just go crazy for those noodles, right? Like that's must be the only explanation for this broken table.
I like the idea that it implies that this happens more often than not.
Yeah,
Like you're like,
absolutely.
oh, these noodles. Ah! Ah! Just flip the table.
Just break the table in half.
God, what are they putting those noodles? Just pure uncut cocaine.
Oh my god.
Just like, oh.
Again, as they're running through the store, I just want to point out the backgrounds. Just so many little things, right? Like the rice cookers, the little Asian brands that we see here, the chips and stuff, like the shrimp chips. Like those are all things that you would see. The sleepy time tea. These are all things that you would like see in the Asian grocery store, and I absolutely love all these little details and everything. Um Yeah, pure adrenaline in those noodles, as Morgan says. um, Anne runs into her parents, and now she's trying to kind of balance, like, showing that they're responsible with, running away from this killer murder robot. And oh my God, this is like very, very cartoony, very fun situation that we found ourselves in. And, Anne's mom is like, can you pick up one of these fish? And then she's like, yep, right away. I'll do that right now. And totally runs in the opposite direction. And Anne's dad just being like, isn't it in that direction? But, they don't question it, which is fun.
Yep. And they do get the fish.
Yeah, they do get the fish at the end, which is great. And yeah, Zoe, that's a good observation there. If the magnets make the robot dysfunction, they might be able to use a similar technology, maybe an EMP later on.
If there's anyone who probably knows how to do that, it's Marcy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Marcy's gonna have that knowledge kicking around in there somewhere to make some kind of amplified electromagnetic pulse.
Totally.
Or maybe they'll go the dumb route and they'll just defeat them with a fuck off shotgun.
Yeah, so they're running. They're trying to get away from the killer robot guy. I forget the lines of dialogue that we get here, unfortunately. Oh yeah, Anne thinks of a plan to try to defeat the robot, and I do love this. I do think that this is some brilliant thinking on her part. She starts playing some music throughout the store, some really awesome rock music, and she's like, that's going to be able to cover up any noise that we might make, which is actually pretty smart. I really have to give it to her there.
It's a reference to a specific song, and I don't remember what the song is because I can't remember how the riff goes. But it is a reference to a specific song, and I wish I'd written it down, but I didn't.
Oh, of course it's a reference. I was wondering if it was going to be a reference to something else.
Because TJ Hill is a guitarist primarily, like that's his main instrument. You can really tell. And it's like a very, very, very famous riff. I'm gonna have to listen to it again.
Yeah,
but it is a reference to a.
You should.
I want to say it's like a Black Sabbath song, but I honestly don't remember. It is a reference to a specific song, and I really wish I'd written it down. But I'm a moron who doesn't. I wrote down a stupid, terrible joke about 99 ranches, but I didn't write down some fun trivia about the music.
It's okay. We'll figure out the trivia later. I'm sure you'll figure it out. I do also want to point out that Anne was pretty smart here again. Again, she's growing up. She's less of the dumb baby that she used to be. And she covered the robot with flour in order to be able to see it when it turns invisible, which I thought was really brilliant. This is also one of my favorite moments in the episode, right, where they're like fighting the robot and the music's playing in the background, and Anne's parents are just like, I love this song, oh yeah, it's a classic, and they're just like rocking out in the background as this like pile of food, the cans of food, right, get destroyed and then quickly put back together by Sprague. That's just one of my favorite moments in the episode. It got a really good laugh out of me.
I mean, good job, Sprague.
Yeah, that was honestly some Marcy level, like, fix-it right there.
Sprague and Marcy aren't that dissimilar, because I know a lot of people have said Marcy is heavily ADHD coded.
Yeah, definitely. Morgan says, I love how Anne's parents are rocking out to the music so much. That was a cute touch. I thought they were going to say, like, kids these days listen to garbage, but they didn't do that. Yeah, totally. I love how Anne's parents are... they're fun. They're goofy. They totally seem like Anne's parents, right? Like, yeah, it makes sense that Anne would kind of have strict parents, but obviously Anne is very like goofy and fun herself. So it makes sense that her parents would also be like a little goofy and fun. And this was just like a fun gag because like it just, her plan was so silly and ridiculous. So to see it like play out exactly how she like imagined it would play out is like kind of fun to see and really funny.
Also, I gotta say, I do love the socks and sandals.
Oh God, yeah, classic dad.
Socks and sandals, the Crocs. Mom wearing the Crocs.
Classic. So they continue to fight the robot, but the robot itself does not want to be seen, which convenient for Anne, who is trying not to cause a ruckus. The but they continue to fight it. They use their surroundings and everything, and they run away into the employees only freezer, the back room. And of course, them being frogs, they have to freeze up, which we've seen them do before, which is it's I really like how they keep that consistent. Like, they don't just like forget about the fact that like, oh yeah, these guys do freeze when it gets cold.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty good at sticking to the lore. I wonder if
Yeah.
they have a big book of Amphibia lore that they
Oh,
consult in the
I'm sure
episodes.
they do.
An incredible tome.
Also, I love that headcanon, Zoe, that Anne's parents met at like a heavy metal concert or a rock concert. That's fun. That's a fun headcanon. So Anne is really desperate to try to fight this robot guy. She's trying to get her blue powers to activate. And then of course the planters are trying to do their best to help, but seeing as they're frozen, all they can really do is kind of slide forward a little bit, which was also a funny moment. But this is actually a really key moment, right? Because it makes it so that the evil robot is going to turn their attention onto the planters. And this is what reactivates Anne's calamity powers, Anne's blue powers. And I thought this was particularly interesting because, we saw in True Colors that it wasn't until Sprig was in danger, right? Or like when Anne thought that she had lost Sprig, that these powers became activated. And here in this episode, we're seeing the powers become activated as the robot is turning to attack the planters. So it does seem to be consistent, right? That Anne is able to access these powers when, she is trying to protect the people that she loves, when she's like particularly heated up, right? About like this encounter. She's really desperate to protect her friends, her family. And that, I think, desperation and that, like, the fact that the stakes are so high and her emotions are so high are what cause the powers to activate. But yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I feel like I have more to say about her reflections on her powers later on.
Mm.
Because I mean, this is sort of reiterating what we already knew, which was that it was obviously, she doesn't respond to her own danger, but she does respond to her friends being put in danger, and
Right.
that's her being the heart of the group. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Um,
that's a good point, is that like it doesn't activate when she's in danger, but it is when the planters are in danger.
which means that presumably Sasha and Marcy will have powers as well, and their powers will activate corresponding to their particular stones and what those stones represent. Um,
But
but
will they activate though? Because they got their juice drained at the temples, whereas Anne, right, like didn't fully recharge the stone.
that's
So
true.
I
I
don't know if
forgot
the other
about
two are
that.
gonna get powers unless they like drain the box again. Maybe.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. I
I
guess
guess
we'll
we'll
find
see.
out.
Yeah, yeah. Mind and
But
might is probably what their powers are gonna be if we do get to see them.
but I think it's her reflections on the use of her powers that I found more interesting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and we'll get there.
We'll get to
Um,
that.
and again, this kind of recurring trope, right, of the robot being invisible but running away. He destroys the cars and like the trees, and we can like see him leaving, right? So that's very fun that that's kind of a continued thing with this robot. And I think it's safe to say that we're gonna see this robot again. I don't think it's gone forever.
Friggin' hates the. I mean, we see at the end of the episode he's mending himself, but like,
Yeah.
God, this thing fucking hates cars. Jeez.
Yeah, maybe he gets like intimidated by cars. He's like, "Oh, I'm cooler than you. I'm going to destroy you." Sasha experiences her powers in relation to the Warhammer and her being truthful about what bothers her. Yeah, yeah, that's true. We did see Sasha use her powers at that point, but now she's drained. Now the power's in the box, so I don't know what's gonna happen there. Um, The planters are out of their ice now that they are out of the freezer, and Anne is completely drained. She's super tired. She's super passed out. So it's clear that these calamity powers take a lot out of her, like physically. They do take a lot of energy. And again, this show is really good at bringing back the gags, right? Like to kind of come back and play an important role in the story. And so here's a really great example of that again, where they take the durian, right, that we established was stinky earlier, and it is the crucial thing that is needed to wake Anne up so that she doesn't get in trouble with her parents, which I thought was fun.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, this show is just really good at tying in those gags to the plot, which I really love. Honestly, until the human villains come in, I think the robot will be the main threat to the planters. Yeah, I totally agree, Rooster Tamer. I think that the robot is going to continue to be a threat throughout the season. Anne's parents come by, and of course they don't suspect anything. They are just very happy that Anne has been so responsible, and she even got the fish, and they even like apologize. They're like, "Oh, we're sorry for being so overprotective, and we should trust you." And as much as I really appreciated their apology, I also was kind of like, "Nah, you guys are also right." Like, there was definitely some shady stuff going on that you don't know about. But Anne is
No, there
sweet.
wasn't.
They didn't see anything, so good point.
Nothing happened. What are you talking about?
Anne is super sweet though. She's like, you guys don't have to apologize. I really appreciate it, right? And this is a funny bit where, Anne's dad is like, oh yeah, there was a huge mess in that aisle. Thank goodness we don't have a daughter that, causes a mess like that. And then getting their, pained laughs from Anne and the planter was really funny. Just them being Anne being like, don't overdo it, guys. Like that. I feel like that's something that's happened before in the show too, where Anne's just been like, don't overdo it. Like, we're trying to sell this here. Like, don't go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And again, the expressions are all fantastic. So funny.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at Sprig's 180-degree mouth opening.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's such classic Sprig with his mouth fully open. Oh, I love him. I love Sprig.
Dislocates his entire jaw.
He's a frog. He doesn't even have a jaw. Do frogs have jaws? I don't know.
What?
I don't know too much. I don't know enough about frog anatomy.
What? I mean, yeah, frogs have jaws. They have a skeleton.
Can their jaws like unhinge? I guess is my question.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Cartoon. Frogs have skeletons.
I don't know enough about frogs. Anne kind of explains to the planters that her powers feel kind of bad, and that they should probably try not to use them. Polly is really sweet, and she's like, "Yeah, we won't force you." Or Polly and Sprig are both like, "We won't force you to use them. You've already got enough going on, right?" And she's like, "What? No, I don't have that much going on. Just, trying to save Sasha and Marcy, trying to get you guys home, trying to keep you guys a secret, trying to save them, trying to, defeat an evil Nuke King. That's not too much on our plate."
That is the thing that is kind of interesting, though, is the idea that it doesn't feel like some great triumph that she's beginning to learn more about these powers. It feels like, this is something that takes an actual toll on her in some way, and in a way which is currently still vague, but the more we learn about it, the more it feels like a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah, I would love to get some more of your thoughts, because I know that we kind of touched on this earlier, but I read some stuff online about some people interpreting this as kind of almost like a metaphor for like how we as people can't necessarily like spread ourselves too thin for the sake of other people. Like if we are trying to take care of too many things that are not ourselves, we do eventually kind of like burn out, right? Like if we're trying to take care of the planters, we're trying to take care of Andreas, we're trying to take care of Marcy and Sasha, right? Like Anne is just giving so much thought to the other people in her life, her parents, um, she is kind of forgetting about herself. And so I'm wondering if that is going to be an arc that we see from Anne in season 3, like her kind of realizing that like her constantly trying to take care of other people is going to burn her
Yeah.
out, or like is going to cost her in some way. But
I
yeah, I'm really interested to see how that plays out.
I don't know if I would be so eager to kind of interpret it in that direction. I don't feel like I personally don't feel like we've seen enough of Anne being shown to spread herself thin. Like the powers activate when her friends are in danger, right? As a
Yeah,
matter of necessity. Like she naturally gets on very well with people and she's pretty good natured, but she's perfectly capable of being selfish as well, as we've seen many, many times. Not selfish in like a mean spirited way, but in a way where she's occasionally ignorant of other people's feelings.
sure.
And that's something which clearly she's learned a lot about over the course of 2 seasons. I don't feel like I don't think we've seen enough of the powers to make any concrete statements as to what they represent on an allegorical level. But
Sure.
also, I just don't think that interpretation particularly, I don't feel like we've seen enough of that at play as a character trait for Anne, in my opinion.
Oh no, yeah, and I
Um,
think that's completely fair. It's just something I saw that I think has some weight to it that I'm interested to see if that's the direction they're going in. Morgan also says, I think it's interesting that her powers feel bad. It makes me question the nature of the prophecy. Yeah, that's true too. We don't know too much about what this prophecy deal is, and I'm sure that that's going to be something that we learn more about in this season. Um, yeah, and it could be that her selfishness was at first a problem and now is like something that she needs to find a balance between, maybe. Could be,
Again,
but
I just don't think we've seen enough. We haven't had like an episode where it's
yeah.
been like where we've seen Anne spreading herself thin. She's just like a good friend, and
Yeah.
there haven't been that many situations where she's felt the need to push herself in 100 directions at once. So I don't know. I don't feel like we've seen enough content to suggest that. Really, that feels like a bit of a
Sure.
rushed.
Yeah,
In
I
my
think
opinion, I'm not trying to dunk on people. I just feel like it's a bit of a rushed interpretation.
yeah. No, I think that's completely fair. I definitely think that we need to see more of how this is going to unfold. We have to learn more about the powers. We have to learn more about how Anne is planning to tackle all of these things, but I do think that if that is the direction that we're going in, then we do see some hints of that kind of being laid out in this episode. That's all I'm saying. Um
Yeah, yeah.
but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it gets developed. Do you have any other thoughts about like Anne's powers like feeling bad or like what that could possibly mean?
Uh, no. I mean, when I was watching it, my first thought was kind of to compare it to Midoriya in MHA.
Hmm,
The difference being that like obviously Midoriya developing his powers and kind of learning how to make it work with his body is a matter of personal triumph. Whereas with Anne, I feel like I'm almost certain that the powers are going to be a temporary thing that will not stick with her as a character after the ending of of the show. I
sure.
feel like they're a double-edged sword,
Hmm.
um, somewhat. It's still so vague when she says it doesn't feel good. Like,
Yeah.
presumably it's taking some kind of physical toll on her, otherwise she wouldn't pass out. But also,
Right.
how does it make her feel emotionally? We don't know.
Right. Yeah, those are going to be things that I'm really interested to see play out, because obviously, yeah, it does take a toll on her physically, and that could be a really simple explanation, right, for like why it feels bad. Like it physically feels bad, and it takes a lot out of her. But yeah, I am interested to kind of see like where the power like comes from. Like I know it comes from the calamity box, but like what does that mean, right? Um so yeah, there's a lot of questions I have about the powers and about the calamity powers, and I'm really interested to see how it unfolds throughout the rest of the season. I would love to hear in the chat as well if anyone else has any other theories about the calamity powers, whether you think that um Anne is going to get control over them throughout the season, whether you think that Anne is going to avoid using them throughout the season. Um yeah, I would love to get everyone's thoughts on Anne's powers and what they think is going to happen.
Mm.
Um, this is also kind of like a little bit of a funny gag too, right? Where, she's like, she can't even move her arms to open the car door and stuff. So it does obviously take a lot out of her. Morgan says, considering the Calamity Box is called Calamity, it makes me think that maybe the prophecy is foretelling a bad event instead of a good one. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. I also this line got a really good laugh out of me too, right? Where Sprig is like, oh gosh, what does he say? I forget the exact line, but he's like, I'm sure we'll be fine and that robot will never come back and bother us again. And
You
Anne's
need
like,
to stop saying stuff like
you need to
that.
stop saying stuff like that because it really is like the third or fourth time that Sprig has said something like this, and then like the exact opposite ends up happening. Oh, Sprig, you beautiful, sweet, naive child.
Yep.
Yeah, so this moment got a really good laugh out of me too, because it is a recurring gag with Sprig. He always does say stuff like this. Oh man.
Well, he's also a little idiot baby.
Oh, he is, but I love him.
We love them all.
We love him.
Little idiot babies.
Yeah, they leave they leave the parking lot. Anne's dad's like, I'm starving. Yeah, I agree, Morgan. I love how Anne's dad is speaking Thai, and he's like, I'm starving. That's really cute. That's really cool. And then we get this ominous shot, right? Like it starts raining, we get the tower, this light is flashing, and then of course we learn that this robot is indeed repairing himself. It looks like he is trying to put himself back together in order to continue his mission. So it does seem to me that this robot is going to be a little bit of a recurring villain, at least for the first few episodes or the first section of the season. We're probably going to see this guy come back. Whether or not he's going to be able to turn invisible again is yet to be seen. Whether or not Anne is going to tell her parents about this robot that's coming after them is remains to be seen. I have a feeling that they will learn about it and get involved and help Anne out on her adventure in a future episode, but for now at least we are trying to keep things at least a little bit of a secret. But I also love that about this show Amphibia, and also the Owl House is kind of doing this too, right? Where kind of a trope in these kind of fantasy stories has always been that the kid will have the adventure and the parent will remain ignorant of it. And there's something about that, about how like these adventures are usually synonymous with like coming of age stories, and there is like that association of like the fantasy is tied with childhood or like being a child. But like the Owl House and this show, I'm hoping it'll go in this direction, but they are doing this new thing where they're bringing the parents into the fantasy as well and having them play parts in the adventure, which is something that like isn't that common in these kind of stories. So I really appreciate that, and I really love that, and it's like something fresh and new that we haven't really seen before that I just love getting from these newer shows.
I'm trying to think I'm trying to think of an example. I mean, Ben 10 maybe. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Like examples of like parents that are remaining ignorant of like the other stuff, you mean?
no, I mean the opposite. I mean,
Oh,
because obviously, with like Max in Ben 10, he always had that shady past of being a member of some secret organization and always knew more
right.
than he was letting on, and always had like an actionable role in the story. Greg Universe, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Greg is
Greg,
like that too. Yeah.
he takes a bit of a back seat, but he's far from ignorant.
Yeah. But there is,
Um,
the trope I'm talking about though, right? Like where the parrot is like ignorant of all the magical stuff that's going on.
um,
Um,
I don't know. Yeah, I kind of do. Just for some reason, I can't think of any immediate examples, but I do know what you're talking about.
yeah.
You're not
Um,
going mad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know why the first example that came into my head. Did you ever watch Dragon Tales? I don't know if that was a thing in the UK. I don't know.
Dragon Tales was a thing in the UK, but I did not watch it.
I don't know why this is the first example that came into my head. But yeah, like they would go into the dragon world and it was like a secret to their parents. So I don't know why that's the
It's
first example.
I guess it would be popular with kids because kids want to have some kind of sense of an independence from their parents, and
Right, right, of course.
like
Morgan
Yeah.
says the parents are always kind of left out. It reminds me of Studio Ghibli, kind of, with kids always being the main focus. Yeah, for sure. Phineas and Ferb. That's a great example, Bort, where, Phineas and Ferb are always like doing their own thing and their parents are completely ignorant of like the crazy stuff that they do. So that's a great example. I love that.
Ghibli's kind of an interesting example, but also Ghibli, I mean, the two cases that spring to mind, you've got Spirited Away, where her parents are actually endangered. That's a really good example. But also with like Kiki's Delivery Service, her parents specifically send her away, because it's customary for witches to kind of go away when they're 13 and have that taste of selfhood. Other examples, the kids tend to just not have parents. Like Patsu lives alone.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Lisa in Ponyo, she's kind of a bit of a badass. She's very involved.
Yeah.
But those kids are too young to be unsupervised. So.
Yeah, for sure. Every teenage like superhero thing. Beyblade, those kids froze time and went into a pocket dimension, and the parents are just like, haha, what a funny kids game. That's funny. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
And of course, Pokemon, Ash's mom sends him away so she can bone Professor Oak.
No, stop. Maya Max says Fairly Odd Parents is a good example. Yeah, definitely, where like the fantasy is hidden from the parents. Oh, Troll Hunters. I'm not familiar with Troll Hunters, but yeah, that's probably a good example.
Is that the Guillermo del Toro series?
I do not know, actually.
I know he did a series on Netflix.
Scooby-Doo, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of examples I think out there that where like the adults are ignorant to the fantasy, and it's just cool to see that these modern shows seem to be kind of going in another direction, which is very cool.
Scooby-Doo always makes me laugh because they're meant to be teenagers, but they all come across as like 30-year-olds.
As adults, yeah, it's always really weird.
Like they're not teenagers, no way.
Yeah, My Neighbor Totoro is like that too. I haven't seen Totoro, so
Totoro I really love because one of the parents is in a sanatorium because she has tuberculosis, but the other parent, like, while partially absent from the story, doesn't, like, he's not ignorant. Like when May talks to him about the forest spirit, he's like, yeah, that's forest spirit,
Yeah.
And engages her on it, and it doesn't come across like he's playing along with the fantasy. Like, it's genuinely like a I don't know how to put it. It doesn't feel like the dad in My Neighbor Totoro is as ignorant.
Well, I have not seen it, so I cannot comment.
You haven't seen My Neighbor? What
I
are you doing?
I know.
You haven't seen so many Ghibli movies.
There's a lot of Ghibli movies I haven't seen. I am way behind on that, but I will get on it.
They're all really good.
They are. Everyone I've seen so far has been amazing. So
Miyazaki's an amazing filmmaker. Takahata was, rest in peace, an amazing filmmaker. Go watch them. Yonobayashi's great as well. Just watch all of them. Have a good time.
Yes. I will watch them, I promise. Anyway, we are here at the end of the episode. Anyway, I'm really excited to see this robot come back as a recurring villain. I think that he's a lot of fun. I think it's fun that he's like trying to stay hidden from the Earthlings as well. I think that'll create kind of just like a fun, cat and mouse kind of dynamic between this evil robot and Anne. Again, I'm interested to see how much her parents are going to get involved in all of this as the season progresses. And then of course I'm of course on the edge of my seat when it comes to Marcy and Sasha and what's going on in Amphibia and what's going to happen to them, how all of that is going to play out. I really hope that we'll get to see them soon. And I think someone in the chat earlier said that they are hoping for like a Sasha episode, like a Sasha point of view episode. And we've gotten a couple of those already, right, in the season, or in the first two seasons. So I would be really excited to see if we were to get that as well in this third season. Yeah, it's hard for me to make predictions in this show as well. I know I said that for the Owl House, but this show also does continue to surprise me. When season 2 ended, I never would have expected them to be back on Earth for season 3. So that was like a huge surprise. So yeah, I don't want to make too many predictions. I don't want to make too many theories when it comes to the show, because I know it's going to surprise me, as it always does. But yeah, I really am interested to see how all of this is going to come together. I hope that we use Andreas's potato chip weakness somehow. I think that'll be fun.
What I want to know is, I mean, I have a couple of things to say. First of all, I do think that this setup is the perfect setup for Sasha to have her redemption arc. I think Sasha,
Yes.
actually having the experience of being under the boot heel instead of over it, you
Yeah.
know, liberating Marcy. These are the perfect opportunities for her to redeem herself after being, frankly, just a horrible person who
Yeah.
has literally tried to kill children. Um, but also Anne Boonshaw in Smash when?
Yes.
Is Anne Boonshaw going to be the final fighter?
Oh my gosh, yes. And then having her like blue powers be like her final smash. That would be amazing.
But her normal attacks are all just like tennis racket based.
Yes. Oh, amazing, amazing. I would love to see that. Um, we do also get some new ending credits for this season as well, and they are very different from the first two ending credits. I really, really like the new credits. I think that they're super fun. I think that the remix is really well done. I think that the animation that we get here is so spectacular. Like the style is so
Beautiful.
adorable. I believe it was one animator that put this together too, which is like absolutely mind blowing.
But it makes sense because on the rare occasion that you do have one animator in charge of not just the keyframes but the full animation of a particular
yeah,
scene or moment, it tends to be really, really fluid.
yeah, and this is a
Which is
beautiful animation.
I think the animation is my favorite of the three
Yes,
endings.
agreed.
The music, while I like it, is my least favorite. My favorite is still season two. The season two ending theme is really beautiful.
Yeah, I do have to agree with that. And I do want to just emphasize that like I love this music. I love the remix. I think it's super fun.
It's
And
really cool,
I think like,
but
you know,
it
they were going for like an anime feel, right? Like with this outro. And I think they nailed
without a
it.
doubt. Mm.
Um but there is something special about the season 2 ending music, like you said. Like there were so many episodes where like I would finish the episode and like feel really emotional because of like the emotional kind of note that the episode ended on. And like my heart would feel really full and I would like just feel like really emotional. And then like that music would start playing and I would
Yeah.
just start crying. Like there's something about that music that made me cry more often than not. Um
It's the minor fall that does it. It's that
yeah.
that minor fall. It's that
It's just
that
really, really
that
good.
that E minor. I love it.
Yeah, but I also do
And it's
think
also
that oh,
it's
sorry.
surprisingly, I genuinely want to. It wouldn't fit on the channel, but I genuinely want to do a tutorial on how to play that solo on guitar because there don't exist any good ones. Like when I recorded that, I went looking all over the internet for like a good tutorial on how to play that, and there are no good ones. Like
Oh my you
like
should.
sat
That would
down
be
and
fun.
no one had sat down and figured out how to take the banjo part and the guitar part and mash them together into a single part. So I might do that, but I just don't feel like there'd be a market for that on the channel.
No, I think you should. That'd be amazing.
I
Um
wouldn't even know how to. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Morgan says that the outro reminds him of Little Witch Academia, and yeah, I
Yeah.
totally like the anime feel is super super there. Um yeah, totally Shia. Nothing bad can happen in this season because of this outro. But yeah, I really do think that like the new feel of the outro fits with kind of the third season of the show. Like I definitely feel like this season is definitely going to be more like adventure focused, more like a little bit more plot driven maybe than character driven from the first two seasons. Um, so
No reason it can't be both.
it can definitely be both. But I'm just saying, like, I think it's going to be a little bit more plot driven in this third season. Because they kind of have to tie all these strings together, right? So I think that this new outro is really fitting for the
Yeah.
tone of season
It's
3.
certainly very fitting. TJ Hill is an incredible musician, great composer. It's
Yes.
just my least favorite of the three. That doesn't mean I dislike it. It's just
Yes.
my least favorite.
Yeah, I agree that like the first two are really good and my favorite, but I still really, really love this one. And it's so beautifully animated. And it's so fun. Like I definitely like danced around a little bit the first couple times I heard it. Like it's a super fun bop. Really just gets me really hyped for this season. It's gonna be a fun adventure, I think.
It is going to be a fun adventure, and I'm excited to share it with you all.
Yeah, I'm excited. Also, thank you, Zoe, for letting us know. It was Jen Strickland who animated the outro. So shout out to Jen Strickland. They are fantastic.
What else has she done?
Oh.
I think I recognize the name, but
Oh
I
my
don't
God. Yeah,
remember.
Morgan, the ending credits for Hopping Mall. I was sobbing during that outro too. It's so beautiful.
She has very few credits. She's only got 3 art department credits on IMDb, and her
Whoa.
animation is clearly insanely good. So I feel like we've got a lot to look forward to from that name.
Oh my God,
Keep an
yeah.
eye out for that name.
She's
That
probably
name is
like
going to be relevant.
yeah, I feel like she's probably like an up and coming animator, but obviously incredibly talented. Like
Can we, I just, somebody dropping Hopping Mall specifically, can we just address, I don't know if anybody knows that Hopping Mall, the title Hopping Mall, is a reference to an obscure B-movie horror called Chopping Mall. And it makes me so happy. Like, Matt Braley makes a lot of references in Amphibia. He makes references to Berserk. He makes references to like weird sci-fi movies from like the 60s. The fact that he even knows what Chopping Mall is, let alone like names an episode after it, makes me personally very happy.
oh my God, the references in this show are like next level, I swear to God.
Because it's like I wouldn't even have known if I hadn't seen like a thing on Reddit about it. Because it's like I looked and I'm like, oh well, it's shopping mall, but it's hopping mall. It's like it's like yeah, whatever, it's shopping mall. There's no way he's seen chopping mall. That's not possible. And then well, I guess it is possible.
Yeah, well, that's really cool if that is that reference. It wouldn't surprise me either because there are just so many references in the show that, yeah, it would make sense to me if that was also a reference. Anyway, we've been talking for almost 3 hours now. It's about 2.5-ish hours that we've been chatting about this episode. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us and chatting about the season premiere. This was so fun. I'm really excited that discussion streams are back for this new season because I always have such a good time talking to Tom, talking to y'all about these new episodes. These are like my favorite shows that are coming out right now, and to get to discuss them and share the experience with all of you and hear all of your thoughts is just kind of icing on the cake for the viewing experience. It makes it a lot of fun, and I really appreciate y'all hanging out with us today. Yes, discussions are back. So, and then of course we'll be doing our weekly Amphibia discussions on Sunday as these new episodes come out. We'll be doing them around the same time, around 11 a.m. every Sunday. So of course next week we will be back to talk about episode 2. Do you remember what these episodes are called? They are called Pop Till You Drop and Turning Point are going to be the episodes we discuss next week.
Oh God, Turning Point USA. Oh no.
Turning Point, I actually think is might be a Sasha episode if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Is it going to turn out that she's a supporter of Turning Point USA?
I don't think I know what that is, so.
Oh, okay, good. Don't look it up, please.
Okay, guys. Well, I think that's pretty much all that I had to say. Tom, you have any final thoughts? Oh, yeah, go check out our video, the video that Tom just posted on the Curmudgeon Media YouTube channel. Go check it out.
Go watch it. Go comment on it. I have no idea how this video is going to perform.
Yeah,
it's really hard to tell.
So leave a comment, give it a chance.
Give it a chance.
Yes, thank you, Shia, for dropping the links. Really, really appreciate that. And of course, y'all know where to follow me on Twitter and on Discord, all that good stuff. I'll keep you guys updated on when future streams are going to be. All right, y'all, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up for today. But thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. I hope to see you either on Saturday for when I play some more Deltarune or next week on Sunday for when we talk about the next episodes of Amphibia. This has been so fun. Thank y'all so much again. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Stay safe. Wear a mask if you're going out. Get vaccinated if you're able to. Stay hydrated. All that good stuff. Take care of yourselves and the people around you. Love y'all so much, everyone. Take care.